What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video I have this Volkswagen Jetta, and customer already got the car diagnosed somewhere else. Parking brake does not work. They told him it needs both calipers, pads and rotors, because they're worn down. So I have both calipers, pads and rotors, and I told the customer I would check it out before I replace anything to make sure that their diagnosis was correct. Here is how to check your parking brake and diagnose it properly. So here, this spins freely, but this cable here, you see how it does not return back to its original position? This would cause your rotor to drag. So if this goes further in, right? So when I came here, I actually popped it out with a screwdriver, but when I came, it was all the way up to here, and that would definitely cause a loose parking brake handle. So I moved this all the way back, and I went and checked the other side, and this is the other side over here. So when checking this side, I went in here, same method with the screwdriver, and if you can see, this side actually does spring back, which means right now the parking brake should operate as it should. So if we come around and we check the parking brake, and I actually took this off here, right? Parking brake is still loose, and here is what I found as well. And this is a byproduct of that the caliper there being loose. But if I look in the back there, so if you look right over there, that silver piece has an opening on the other side as well, and that's where the parking brake cable is supposed to be hooked up to, and it's not hooked up to either side of it, which means the center console has to come out in order to see where that cable is and see if we can hook it back up, or if we got to take anything else apart. I'm going to start by disassembling the caliper, take the caliper off, take the brake line off, and then replace the rotor pads, put the new caliper on there, and do the same thing on both sides. And then we have to bleed the brakes, and then we can go and tackle the parking brake cable. Okay, let's start by taking the back bolts here off. Both of these are off, and I'm gonna get a magnet tray so I can put all of the bolts, and we'll try to keep this area nice and clean here. This is the magnetic tray I use. Works very well, and I can put the wheel bolts and everything else like that in here. Now I can crack this line here loose. Like that. Then you take this and move this to the side. What I'm going to do next is take this clip off from here, and this will let us remove this rubber hose out of the way, so it's no longer attached to the caliper. Now we have to take parking brake cable off. You just push, there's like 2 tabs in here. I have to push them from the top and the bottom, and just with the other hand just pull, and it should come off. Okay, so that's off as well. So that means our caliper should be loose. There we go. Take the screw off. It's a T30. If I remember correctly, these should be 14 triple squares. Okay, finally. And just so that you guys can see what I'm doing here, that's where the bolt is, right? And then the other one was just up here on my finger. It's just up there. There we go, both bolts are out. Move this out of the way. Tap on the rotor. Move that to the side. That's it. And then before we put the new rotor in there, we can apply some anti-seize. And before we install this rotor, we have to clean this using brake clean. The reason why you want to clean the faces using brake clean is because they use oils so that they don't rust when they're just sitting at the warehouses. So this way you could get rid of the oil, and you only want to clean the face. It doesn't matter for these. I find it beneficial to actually leave the oil on these because it will prolong it a little bit so they don't rust that fast. Before we start putting this in, you want to disassemble. You want to clean all of the grease that's on here. Take that stuff off because it's not good. Put the good stuff in there. This is what I use, and this stuff works way better than what they use when they rebuild these things. Let's pull the pins out just a little bit. And you see this white stuff, it will harden up. It's already sort of hard. This stuff is junk, so clean that off, just wipe it off, and we want to put some of this stuff in there. Then you want to push the rubber boot down and then slide this in. That way there's no air. If there is air, you just have to push this down, the rubber boot down, and give it a spot for the air to escape, and then just push down on this. Okay, with that being done, now we can put the caliper bracket on there, just like so. Man, that's such a horrible job. Can't believe they even sold that. Like, look at that. But that's what you get. Original one on of these is like $350 for one. Okay, we greased the pads. Now we're ready to put the pads in here. They just go on directly like that. And same thing with the inside. Now we have to install our caliper. Before we do, I like to grease the face of the caliper. I like to grease this part right here where it sits against the pad, and also right here where it also sits against the pad. So you want to grease those areas up a little bit. It will prevent the rust in those areas and just make it last a little bit longer. We have to hold the inside. When it spins like that, you just gotta hold the inside. You could put a wrench in there, or you could just put pliers. There we go, the caliper is in. Now we have to get this line on. The brake fluid line. Don't forget this clip to put over here. Slide it on and then just tap it on there with something. That means that's all tight. Spray some brake clean. And we still have to get this cable on here, parking brake cable. Okay. This side is all done. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Then we're gonna come back, bleed the brakes, and then we're gonna go and adjust that parking brake on there. We got the brakes done on both sides here. Now I'm bleeding the brakes. So I hooked up my nice little tool over here, which just puts, you can just hand pump it, puts pressure, fills this up with fluid. As it's draining in the back, this is filling up. And I started with this side here. This is the first side I started with, and it's already draining. I'm draining into this container. I'm gonna drain them a good amount, and then the fronts I'm only gonna drain, just a little bit to get some of the old fluid out. And we're gonna figure out what's going on with the cables on the handle. All right, guys. Okay, guys, I apologize for not recording this part of the video. Arguably one of the most important parts of today's video, since we were talking about the parking cable. But I will show you guys how I did it. I had to figure this out, so I didn't have enough time to record because I only have my phone today. But here's what I did. If you take off this felt cover on there, you get access to this panel. You take that off, and you can take those two T20 Torx bolts off. Once you get that off, we're gonna go in the back of the car. This is the back, and right over here there's a cover like this. You want to take that off, and there's a T20 there and a T20 on the other side as well. Push the seat all the way forward and lift it all the way up, and it will give you enough room to access it. And then the last thing we got, which was one of the first things you take off, is this right here. It's a cover that just goes like that in there, and this cover has two bolts right at the bottom there, and you'll access them after you pop this out. So if you just use a plastic wedge, you can pop this out, get access to this one, get those T20 bolts off, and that comes off. After that is done, then you can lift this up just enough to get back there, put your hand in there. And what I did was I took a 10mm, I unscrewed the adjustment screw all the way until I was able to easily fit the cables in from the parking brake. So I fit them in, and then I started adjusting them, and I went up and down with the parking brake handle a few times, and I got it to where now it's nice and tight, and I can spin the wheels easily. So the cable's tight and the wheels are not engaged, which you don't want to do because you can over adjust them, and the wheels will stay engaged. But yeah, so this is all good now. I'm gonna put it back together, and the car is all done. I appreciate you guys for watching today's video. I know I was recording from my phone. It's very sloppy. I apologize for that, but I hope it helps some of you. All right, I hope you guys enjoy. Have a good one.